Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, trying to soak up every little bit of riding weather left. I am currently just cruising around on the 84 Shadow, everyone's favorite learner starter commuter bike. And I say that honestly because I picked up my car at the shop and I left the Shadow there for a night, and I was told that a buddy of his stopped by and said, "Oh man, who's Shadow?" And I just have it for, you know, running around on, but it's nice to know that everybody respects the Shadow, and most people had a Shadow. If you had an old 80s shaft drive motorcycle, probably happened to be a Shadow to start out on. Recently picked up a Vulcan, and a lot of you might have started on a Vulcan, but I realized the Shadow came out 2 years earlier, and a lot of the engine design for the Vulcan was patterned after the Shadow, because that's what motorcycle companies do. Look at what everybody else is doing and what works, and they would try to improve it. So yeah, I was going to film a video sitting at home about the motorcycles that I've had throughout the years and what I started on. Then I realized, let's go ahead and do it on a motorcycle. Let's do a vlog, and be more interesting. You go take a trip out, see what kind of fall foliage is still left, take some twisties on the good old Shadow. So here we are. I don't have my notes with me. I had a bunch of notes made up, and I was going to tell you all the specs and everything. I'll try to put that up on the video, but for now I'll just talk. So my first motorcycle, I had said that I was only gonna ride dirt because it was safer, and I thought it would be dangerous to ride on the road. So my senior year of high school, I saw a street bike for sale and I bought it. And I don't think I could ride it, so my dad rode it home for me. And I paid $850 for my first bike, which happened to be a 1981 Suzuki GS650G. And it was your typical old 80s shaft drive motorcycle. But I rode that thing everywhere. That was my commuter. I rode it to school, I rode it to work. When my girlfriend was going to college, I rode it out to, it was about an hour and a half trip, hour and 15 minutes or something. I used to ride that out there when I could. So that was my first bike. I'm sure I put a picture of it up somewhere. And buddy at the time bought a 1990 EX500 Ninja from Kawasaki. Well, we used to ride together. Unfortunately, he wrecked it, and he sold it to me for $100. So I bought that from him. And in the meantime, I found a 1991 EX500 Ninja for sale, and I believe I paid somewhere in the avenue of $700 or $800 for that one. I took it home, cleaned out the carburetors, and put a new battery on it, and it ran great. So once I got that one running, I had two bikes to ride, the Suzuki and the 91 EX500. And then once I fixed up my $100 wrecked EX500. I actually did a custom paint job on that one. The one I bought, the 91, was a white pearl, and I ended up painting the black EX500, the 1990. I ended up painting that like a Mitsubishi orange. They used to throw that on a lot of the Eclipses. So if you want to see that color, hopefully I have a picture of it, but if not, go back and look at the old 90s orange Eclipse Sunburst or something like that. So those were that was my crew at the time. A buddy of mine at work told me about his roommate was selling an old, I believe it was a 1984 Yamaha FJ600. Didn't run, so I got that. Bought that. I don't think I paid more than 50 bucks, 200 bucks, I don't know. Bought that, and unfortunately it was a mess. I never actually did get along to working on that one. Ended up selling it non-running, but in the meantime I also picked up, is that an 84 also? A KZ440 Kawasaki. Now unfortunately that one I never got running either. This was about the time when I got overwhelmed with work and dog shows and never actually worked on anything I had. So the first 3 bikes I had, the Suzuki, I ended up selling the Suzuki for $1,500. Maybe I sold it for $12. I know I made some money on it. So I bought the Suzuki for $850. And I sold it, I think, for $1,200 bucks. The Ninjas, both of them, I sold them both for, not together. I sold one for $1,500 and I sold the other one for $1,500. So bought one of them for $100, sold it for $15. Bought the other one for about 800 bucks, sold it for 15. KZ440, I ended up selling that, never touching it. I don't know, I probably broke even on that one. I might have gave 200 bucks for that one. And I honestly don't know what I sold and bought the FJ600 for. But it was around the time I was getting married. So, had to move stuff out of my parents' house and ended up just getting rid of them. So at that point, I only had, I think I still had the 91 EX500. I know I still had one of them. And when we got married, bought our first house, I just had the one bike. Then we moved into a different house and I had room to buy some more bikes. Now this is where I made a mistake and started buying motorcycles without titles. And I bought a 1991 Suzuki Katana GS650G. So that was a pretty sweet bike, but I got busy, never touched it. I also at that time, along with that bike, never got a title. I was promised a title, never got one. But I also got a little dirt bike. That was a Honda, I believe it was a CR125. It was a basket case, didn't have a carburetor, never got that running, unfortunately. It would have been a fun little dirt bike, but it was a mess and never never did anything with it. I sold that one for a profit because they basically threw it in with the Katana sale. And then a really nice bike that actually started my story over was a 95 ZX6R Ninja. That was a Kawasaki Ninja. I got that, and again, never got a title from the guy. I couldn't get a hold of it. Couldn't get the title. It got lost, everything. So he never got me a title for that bike. It sat in my shop. I didn't work on it because I didn't have a title. Ended up coming around to where my cousin was looking for a motorcycle, and he asked if I had anything, and I said yeah. You know, at that point I had sold the Katana to somebody for a track bike, and the Katana was gone. I did have a Honda CB, I believe an 82 750 that did have a title. I never worked on it. I wasn't too into big, it had a dresser fairing on it. I wasn't too into it. The guy gave it to me for painting his Ninja, and I ended up selling that. Again, not working on it or anything. I probably didn't make a profit on that one. That was a cool bike. I wish I would have kept that. I wish I still had it. But didn't have time for it at the time. Back to the 95 Ninja. I did end up getting hold of the previous owner, and he gave the title. He had a new title made, and he ended up giving my cousin the title. I was not even part of that deal, but my cousin put that bike back on the road, and at one point I got to borrow it for a couple weeks, and then I had to start over. I had to get my own bikes because I had nothing at that point. So that's when I started over and purchased my 1982 Honda Magna 750. That's the V45 that you've seen on the channel, and I'm gonna get running here and back on the road. So that is my history of motorcycles. That's where I came, and then I was out of bikes. I mean, I had them around, but I didn't touch them. I was out of bikes for like 15 years. Wasn't riding, so it was time to get back. So the Magna brought me back, and I won't even begin to go into the motorcycles I've had since then in the last couple years. You'll see them all on the channel. They're here, but obviously I keep riding the Shadow 700, and let's talk about that for a second. I won't go into big detail because we've had videos on that. I still didn't do a walk around on it. I'm sorry about that. We'll get to that. But I will say the things that I don't appreciate about this poor bike. I love the bike, I really do, and it's the only bike I have running, so we're definitely riding it. The things I don't appreciate: I'm only 5'5", and I feel cramped on this motorcycle. It doesn't allow you a lot of room to run around on. The seat holds you in. It's a step seat, as they did on all the cruisers back then. So you kind of just settle in there and you're planted, which is good, but I like to move around a bit. The other thing I don't love about it are these bars. They kind of sweep in at you a little bit, and I'm not too appreciative of that, because I would like them to be a little more forward. Kind of feel like my hands just torque in a little too far. Maybe if they were just forward just a little bit. I don't know if I'd want like a straight bar or anything, but so I would complain about the bars. I think they're stock. I don't see any stickers on them or anything, but I think they're stock. And the only other thing I would complain about, and this is not the Shadow's fault at all, are these grips. I didn't even think about it at the time, but so you call them grips, right? Well, these grips are so smooth, and like I said, this is not the Shadow's fault. This is 21,000 miles of love. I mean, if anything, it's a testament to how much this bike has been ridden and loved. They're just so smooth. If I'm wearing my hand, if I just have my hands, they're grippy, but when I wear gloves, they're real slick. They're not grippy at all. So, grips that aren't grippy, grips that have no grip left. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Milk truck. Stuck behind a milk truck. So, yeah, I mean, that is not a fault at all of the grips. Of the bike, I'm sorry. Grips can be replaced. That is an obvious, easy thing to do, and I should probably do it so that I don't have smoothed out grips. So that's basically all I have to gripe about this motorcycle. I love the way she sounds. She's not loud, but when you asked her to yell, she does. I love the back pressure. It just sounds so good. It's probably my favorite sound this bike makes. So really, she's a great bike. 1984 Honda Shadow VT750C. Great cruiser. Kind of started the import cruiser craze, because from my research, it looks like the Vulcan only started, Kawasaki's first cruiser was the Vulcan, and they didn't produce that until '85. So I would say they took their pattern on this, and must have, the Shadow went for many years. I think they're still making a Shadow. So anyhow, that's my history of motorcycles. Not my current, but my history. And those are my only gripes on the Honda Shadow. I mean, look, it's almost silent right now. Truck made it through, but I got a red light. Alrighty then.